Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
It's the first time I've ever been first to class. I guess everyone's hungover from the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you're winning. On 1 second. Ashley's calling me.
Cool.
Hey, good. How are you? Yes.
How did I get to that?
Perfect. Give a couple minutes to get on.
Mara, quick question for you.
Yeah.
The email that you sent out earlier about it being in person tomorrow are you speaking about the class or is that something different?
Yeah. So the panel
Yeah.
tomorrow from 1 to 3 is in person.
Okay. It was the class. I just want to make sure it wasn't a different event that I
No.
need to put on my calendar for a different time. Okay, great. Thanks.
Yes. Nope. You're good. Okay, I'm gonna give people 1 more minute to get in, and then we will do our accountability, introduce our instructor. Okay, Phoenix, do you want to get us started with our accountability today? Since you were on first. I know you're muted, but there you go.
I don't know. I did so many little things. I didn't do any contacts yet, but I did put them in. I don't have
Good.
many of them, but they're in there
Good.
now.
Okay, that's one step in the right direction. Good job. Perfect. Joanna, how is everything going on with your business?
Nice. Saturday we have open houses. Was really slow, but I made some connections. And
Good.
Sunday I had an open house, but couldn't make it because we have a problem with the lockbox.
Oh no. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Taylor, how's everything going with you?
Good. I hosted my first open house on Saturday, and I thought it went really good. I thought there was good traction, and it was a great learning experience. I had a good time.
Good. Good job. Q, how are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. How's your contacts going?
Um, I'm just doing my stuff. I messaged my Intel colleagues, um, and then I'm going through every single one of them right now. And then I'm gonna see two of them on Friday this week, and one of them is actually that well, she made a transition to party planning business, and then
Oh,
she has been a host for many many parties or many events for women too. So
Oh, great.
I'm trying to develop a partnership with her. And then yeah, and then
Great.
and other than that, yeah, and then I have a question about the open house.
Yeah.
If Taylor can answer the question. So I'm interested in hosting one of open houses, and actually many of agents at Keller Williams actually sent out emails recently, and then actually it looks like there's some demand for agents who can actually host the open house. So since I'm a new agent and then I haven't had any open house experience, then what do we have to do to get that opportunity?
So Taylor did start with shadowing someone first, which we helped coordinate. And so that gave her kind of that experience to where she could go out and do it on her own. So we can definitely help you coordinate getting a shadow underneath your belt to give you the confidence to go and jump on those opportunities that are needed.
Oh, that'd be great. Yep, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Stacy?
I actually did an open house this weekend also. It was kind of a shadow. I was supposed to do it on shadow with her on Saturday because I did do Tammy's.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah, because I was gonna do, it was interesting. I was going to do Jim's, but Joanna actually ended up doing that for me on Saturday, so I could have the opportunity to shadow Tammy on Saturday and do my own on Sunday. But
Great.
on Saturday they had an offer, an accepted offer for the house. And so I didn't get the opportunity to do my own on Sunday, but that's okay because I'm still waiting for my business cards to come in the mail. And they should have been here like last Friday, which is why I wanted to do it this weekend. But it's really hard to give them out your information when you don't have anything to give them, you know?
Yep,
And so, but
absolutely.
I did learn a lot from her though. So, and it was actually, it was really busy and she gave me some of the buyer cards. And so I'm going to be following up with a lot of them. But it seemed like a
Yep.
lot of those actually already had agents that they were working with too. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
okay.
Okay, great. Good job. Young, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Good.
I went to the open house on the weekend.
Good.
I also met and talked with a Korean looking for a home there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm thinking of keeping in touch with him.
Yeah, definitely do that. Great. Sung,
Hey,
hey, how's your business?
I'm keep contacting my prospects, and I updated them with market report for January information, and also unexpectedly my condo communities start to boil because of the special assessment. So I'm forced to introduce myself to my neighbors. So it's sort of good for me.
That is good. Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, well, today I'm really excited about your guys' instructor. We have Ashley Force out of the Eugene Springfield office. She started her real estate career in the summer of 2021. Initially, she started with a team and then gradually grew her referral network and sphere while learning the ropes of the business from a very high-level mentor and other seasoned agents. Her career has steadily increased year over year, and 2024 was her first full year as an independent agent and her biggest year of business. She sold 55 homes last year and is on track to sell over 60 homes in 2025. So I'm really excited. For those of you in the Eugene Springfield area or Southern Oregon, you'll get to see her on our panel tomorrow as well. So we are super spoiled this week, but definitely make sure you ask all the questions and engage and take advantage of this wonderful time you have with her today.
Thanks, Mara.
Absolutely.
I don't know how to like present Google Slides.
So you will have the green share button on the bottom of your screen, like your Zoom screen.
Okay.
And then if you hit that, you'll be able to, I usually just select my whole screen to share, which is the first option it gives you. Because then if you do end up like going to a different screen to show them something, it'll follow you.
Okay.
And you
So I'm gonna try this.
Okay.
Sorry.
Nope, you're good.
Um,
Ta-da!
ta-da.
And then on there from you can go to slide show. Yep, there you go.
Did that work?
Got it. You're a pro.
I'm a pro. Okay.
All right. Take
Great.
it
Thanks,
away.
Mara.
Welcome.
Okay, so welcome to Ignite in session 10. This is Keep Every Lead. As Mara said, this is my 4th year in real estate, steadily increased business year over year, and I'm really excited to be teaching this class with you all today. This is like my bread and butter. We're going to talk a lot about mind share and mind share leading to market share and kind of like how you can stay in front of people so that they don't forget about you. And this has been, I'm excited to be teaching this class because this is like how I have really built my business and one of the bigger things in lead generation that I really believe in. So we're just going to jump in. Hang on. Okay. So today is the first day of lead follow-up. This is the 3rd segment of Ignite. You've covered becoming real estate expert of choice by building your value proposition, and you've also covered generating leads through prospecting and marketing. So now we're going to focus on lead follow-up, where it can make or break your business. Generating a lead can take almost no time at all. The important aspect is keeping that lead in your grasp until they're ready to do business with you. And sometimes that can be in a month, and sometimes it can take 10 years. So this next segment of Ignite will help you turn that possible business into probable business, and then probable business into a profitable business. So you'll engage in some daily success systems after each lesson that will establish these core activities for your real estate career. Okay. So the lead follow-up process is essential to converting leads to business. And this starts the moment you've captured a lead and put it in your database. I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we just heard a little bit about your progress with the success system. Is that kind of what you all were just recapping? You guys can turn your mics off and participate too if you want. I am going to call on you all from time to time.
Yes, that's what we do at the beginning, is go over our success and lead systems.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we kind of did all that, so I don't think we need to. I heard a little bit about some challenges that you guys were facing. Does anybody want to talk a little bit about those challenges that you had with that while we have this time now?
I have a couple questions actually.
Yeah.
When some buyers were coming through the open house, first, a lot of them, actually probably about half of them, were already working with agents. And so when we collect their information card, do we still follow up with them? Do we still enter them into our database because they're working? How does that work?
That's a really good question. I don't put them in my database. Usually what I do is, because right now you're probably hosting open houses for other real estate agents. And
Correct.
So if a buyer comes in and they have an agent that they're already working with, those are people and contacts that I give to the agent whose listing it is, to be like, here's the people who already had an agent that you can follow up with to see if they want to move forward. But everybody else who is unrepresented, those are people that I would put into my follow-up.
Okay, and if they only put, a lot of them just put their email address on there, not their phone number.
Yeah, that's really typical.
So
You're lucky you even got contact information.
So how do you follow up with people when you don't? I mean, if they just give, because I had one that was just blank and they just checked some of the boxes. I mean, what do you do with those?
Yeah, I mean, you can only go so far, right? So if they don't leave you a phone number and only an email address, of course, you can do a follow-up via email. Right. Sometimes that just goes into the ether and you never hear back from those people.
Yeah.
With email follow-up, when I don't have a phone number or a way to reach them directly, I'll usually send a few. So, I'll send one and then I'll wait a week and then send another.
Okay.
I'll probably do like 3 max. And then if I'm not hearing back from them, I just call it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, for sure. Does everybody have an accountability partner? No.
Yes.
Okay, I saw one head shake no, and I heard one yes. Anyway, we don't need to dive into that really, but if you don't have an accountability partner, you should have one. Okay. Hang on, here we go. Okay, so this is kind of our agenda for today. We're going to talk about what is lead follow-up, how to do it, what you do after lead follow-up. We're going to share some ahas throughout this. And I'd love some participation, so it's not super awkward for me to just like sit in silence. That would be cool. And there's a piece in here we talk about daily success systems, but it has a lot to do with like role playing and pairing up and things like that. So we're probably going to skip that since we're on Zoom today. But by the end of today, you should be able to describe the benefits of establishing a system with lead follow-up. You'll apply the 19 to Connect Touch campaign with your leads, and you'll be able to explain the importance of cementing the relationship with your leads. So to start thinking about what you're going to learn today, you should consider what questions you might have and what about lead follow-up you'd like to know more about. So you can look back or think back to what you've learned in previous sessions, especially in your last segment of Ignite, which was lead generation. So I'm going to give you guys like, I don't know, I'll give you 3 minutes right now. And I'd like for you to brainstorm some questions that you might have about lead follow-up. And then I'm going to call on a couple of you to share those questions. I'm not going to answer them right now, but the hope is that they get answered in this class. And if not, we'll cover those questions at the end. Sound good? Sounds good. I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes. So go for it. Clock starts now. It'll take about another minute. Okay. Let's share a little bit. Who's got some questions that they wrote down that they're hoping to have covered today?
I have a few.
Okay, Stacy, go for it.
So my database is essentially the contacts that I exported and imported from my contacts on my phone. So some of them, they go way back, but some of them might be just acquaintances in the past or whatnot. So if I call somebody and they show no interest at all, like, no, I have a realtor or whatever, and hangs up. Not that it's happened, but do you still follow up with those people? Then the next one would be, how often, so if I call somebody and I leave a message and I don't hear back, how many times should I call after that? Or should I text or email, and how often until I hear no response, or just like forever? And
Okay.
then the third one would be, I know that there's some individualized reports that people can send, like offer their friends or whatever, like the market in their particular area, the housing market in their area, and what everything's going for, and then you can track how many people open those. Where do I go to utilize those, and how do I set those up? Those were my three.
Do you mean where can you find that data?
Yeah, where if I want to send, like, I told one of my friends about it and said I'd send her, a report that shows, the in her particular neighborhood, the housing market and whatnot. But I don't know where to go to set that up and send it to her. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yep.
So-
So we'll talk a little bit about how many times you should follow up with somebody. When it comes to acquaintances, people that are like they're in your database because you met them once upon a time. We're not going to dive too much into that. So I will just say that if those are people that you haven't contacted that know that you're a licensed real estate agent now, we're going to talk a lot about, or not a lot, but we're going to talk a little bit about the reason for the outreach, because sometimes it can be a little awkward if you're just calling someone and you don't really know what to say or have anything valuable to share. So when it comes to somebody like that you've met a couple times, maybe it's like your mom's neighbor or something like that, and they're in your database for some reason, the value proposition there and why you should be reaching out is, hey, I met you, you're my mom's neighbor, I just want to let you know I just got my real estate license, and yada yada yada. So that's your value position there. We're not going to really dive into that today. That's like a pretty niche, but that is a really good question, and something that like I've certainly come across in my career. And then as far as like a market report, that is another value add for making contact, which we will talk about a little bit. A lot of people make their own market updates. They'll like go into Canva and like pull the data and pull it from MLS, or a lot of times like your market center might have stats that you can use. I know, like for me, I don't really, I'll just be honest, like I don't really send market updates because like I kind of find that it's like, who cares? But if it is something that you wanted to put together, all that data is available to you in MLS. And Mara could also help you like kind of pinpoint what works best for you in terms of like how you want to pull that data.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Let's hear a few more. We are going to talk about how many times you should follow up, stuff like that. Let's hear a few more questions from our little brainstorming session. Phoenix, I saw you writing stuff down?
Yeah, so I don't have a lot of contacts, and one of the ways I'm planning on getting some is like doing volunteer work. And I was wondering how to, like, organically get that kind of information from people, like how to contact them later. And then also, like, if someone does give me their information in that situation, do people ever get upset for you actually contacting them real estate wise?
Okay. These are great. And I'm writing all these down right now, and we're going to circle back to them at the end in case something didn't get answered. Who else has stuff they wrote down? Taylor?
Yes, I can go. My main question is what type of lead follow-up should we be spending most of our time on? What has the best success or reply rate, I guess?
Okay, that's a great question. We will for sure cover that. Joanna, do you have anything written down?
I'm concerned about how often we do have to send some information to a potential lead.
Yep. Okay, we'll cover that. Young?
Yes.
Do you have any questions that you want to have answered in this class today?
Actually, I don't have any contact information, so I'm thinking about how to proceed with social media that can make a specified number of people might lead. Of course, the target is limited Korean, but that's best for me right now.
Okay, good. Anyone else?
I have some.
Okay, Q.
You can go
No,
ahead. So.
Okay, I'll go first. Thank you. The biggest reason I jumped in this field is to rebuild and reconnect it to my network. So most of the time I put my times to being reconnected to my ex-coworkers and people I get used to here. So basically, mainly I focused on to make deeper relationship with those people. So I'm really trying to provide targeted information for each person.
Yep.
And as I develop the relationship deeper and deeper, I could learn more about them. For example, I've never known that my friend was veteran here, but I already worked with 3 years before, but now I'm learning that he was veteran. Then I can provide VA loan information to them, for example. So I'm focusing on doing those kind of things, but my question is, how can I get more exposed to unknown people like my neighbors? And I also feel some difficulties to introduce myself as a realtor, like salesperson, to unfamiliar group of people.
Okay, we'll cover that a little bit. Q, did you want to?
Yeah. I think my question would be in a kind of similar vein, in that similar vein. I like to ask you about some cultural thing, like, so how different our approach should be for different ethnic groups. For example, I've been messaging my ex-colleagues from Intel, and then mostly, well, they're all, well, so basically I'm originally from Korea, and actually big part of my sphere is basically a Korean group. And they have a very unique mindset. So for example, if you're very close to them and they're kind of hesitant to share their financial status. So and then I have not been that kind of person my entire life. So that's why I've been working with my friend who is a principal broker. And then he has an engineering background too, so he's a good data analyst. So I trusted him. However, majority of Korean people, especially, they're very hesitant to expose themselves to something they're uncomfortable about. So that's why probably I was the only one for my friend to work with in terms of real estate transactions like investment property and residential property. So have you ever had that kind of thought about ethnic group approaches, like things like, oh, well, this group is this culture, and then I should approach this way and that way? So I like to know if you're in my shoes, then would you already know the culture of this ethnic group, and would you still be able to connect them with that knowledge in your mind? It's kind of, I'm debating.
Yeah, I hear your question. and I completely understand what you're asking. I
Right.
think you're in a, you know, with the background that you have, you're in a very different position than I am. You speak multiple languages, and well, I'm assuming you do if you're from Korea.
Yes, obviously, yeah.
So you speak multiple languages. You are Korean. I'm like a pretty standard white lady from Colorado. So, you know, I think it depends on like the background that you're coming from and like what you're comfortable with. We're not really going to dive into like diversity and how to engage with people from different diverse backgrounds than yours. And I don't know that you really cover that at all in Ignite, but what I have learned is everybody, do you guys know what the DISC assessment is?
DISC.
Yes. Some people say yes.
Yes, I've taken it before.
So the DISC assessment is like a personality assessment, and I use this to bucket people. I don't really care anything about them in terms of like where they're from, what their gender is, you know, whether they're straight or gay, whatever. I don't really, that doesn't go into it for me. I think
Yeah,
about,
let me simplify the question then. You have a friend, you have a close friend, but however, but let's say your friend is female person and then she's looking for a house. However, unfortunately, she's not willing to share her financial status with you. That if that's the case, would you still go for it? Or
Yeah.
okay,
yeah.
okay,
Because there's all these different kinds of people, so you have to approach them the way that they're going to respond. So
Okay.
if you haven't looked up the DISC assessment, write that down and look it up after this,
okay,
because it'll give you an insight into how to speak to people who, so what you're describing is probably more of a high D. So they're really analytical, they're data driven, they kind of like to be in control. So you have to approach those people differently than you would somebody like me, who's just like, you know, I'm best friends with everyone that I meet and like a social butterfly, and I'm ready to share my entire life story when I meet you. So
yeah, that's good.
there's just, yeah. So you have to like, every single client that you ever interact with or lead that you ever interact with is going to be different. And you have to learn and tailor how to speak to people that are in these different buckets. That's why the DISC assessment is like,
Okay, sounds good.
really well
Yep.
for this.
Right.
Okay, cool. I think that was everybody. It looks like there's 7 of you in here, and I think I have all of you. Okay. All right, so let's keep going. Why don't you turn to your lead follow-up page in your participant guide? Can anyone recall how you define a lead? Let's have Joanna. Do you know how to define a lead?
It's someone, for example, someone that you know in the open house, during the open house, and the person showed some interest in your service.
Okay, yeah. So it's a person who shows that interest, but you also have their contact information. And they might not be ready to engage in a two-way conversation, but the goal of lead follow-up is to essentially engage with that lead with the goal of entering into that two-way conversation. Does lead follow-up only apply to a lead? Stacy, this kind of talks about what you were talking about. So what I'm asking here is like, everybody in does lead follow-up apply to only people that you kind of meet in the real estate world, or does it apply to everybody in your database?
I would think everybody in the database.
That's right. So whether a lead is, you know, whether you meet them at an open house or through social media, or it's like somebody that you've interacted with once before, but you happen to have their contact information, those are all leads. So let's think about the people that are in your database. Are they only in your database? Are you the only person who has them in your database? Probably not. So how many other real estate databases are they in? And how do you ensure that when they think of real estate, they immediately think of you? So let's let's everyone open our mics up and talk a little bit about like just initial off the cuff thoughts on like, what would you do to make sure that somebody in your database thinks of you when they think about real estate?
send them like notices, for their birthday. If you're all, I've always had the concept out of sight, out of mind. And so if you can stay in front of them, not necessarily with regards to real estate, but still having your real estate, logo or whatever on there, so it's in front of them. But it makes me want to open it, and then you're in front of them. So out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, that's great.
Maybe find a way to make your brand really personal to you, so it's integrated into your everyday life too. So when people think of you, they just think real estate.
Yep. Anyone else? Those are great.
I also
is-
have some.
Yeah, go for it. Sung.
Yeah, in my brain, buying or selling a house is a really big thing in their life. So I'm trying to be a problem solver and go-to person to them. So it's also one of my big worrying points because I have to spend too much time to each person to make that deep trust relationship. But not just about real estate. Whenever they have a problem, they will, in their brain, my name will come up if I contribute and dedicate my time to solve their problem in normal days.
Yep. That's a really good point. And I'm gonna just riff on that for a second because the point that you're making is really solid. You have all these leads in your database, or you eventually will have a lot of leads in your database. And one of the ways that you can add value to that person so that they do think of you when they think about real estate is by providing a service to them, not necessarily transacting in real estate. So what I mean by that is you want those people to reach out to you when they need a painter or when they need their house to be cleaned or they need a landscaper. So having contractors like that in your pocket that you can share with people, you want to be that resource even if they've never transacted in real estate with you. And what that says to that lead is she's done this enough or he's done this enough where that they have contacts available for me that they trust. And with trust comes that two-way, eventually probable business.
I have a question about that, Ashley, because the other day I was thinking and sent some information by the social media about taxes, because it's almost the season for taxes. That is a good idea because I'm not an expert in taxes. And I saw that many real agents do that.
It just depends on what you're sharing. I wouldn't share I wouldn't get super minute into the tax world, but everyone who transacted in real estate in 2024 needs their closing statements from that year to file their taxes, which is a touch point for me, which we'll talk about. So, I could see you sharing something about, I wouldn't get into tax breaks or what somebody could get back if they bought a house this year. I just don't know enough about it. But I mean, I think if you're knowledgeable enough about that kind of stuff, you could share information like that, but I would be careful about it.
I was thinking the benefits of to be a homeowner. For example, you can discount some expenses of some points.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. It's not like anybody's using you as a CPA. It's not like you're claiming to be one. So I think that's fine to share information like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, here we go. We're going to keep moving. So this is a cute little graphic, the life of a lead. And this is kind of what it means when we talk about lead follow-up. So everyone in your database lives on these waves. So at the top of the wave is when they purchase the house. The day after they buy the house, they move down the wave. And they continue to move down the wave until they begin to think about a new house again. And then they kind of start to go up the wave. So over someone's lifetime, they have the potential to buy 1 or 2 or 3 or more houses. And the distance between those purchases on average is anywhere between 7 to 10 years. So if I gave you a lead close to the top of the wave, what would you perceive about the quality of that lead? Let's have Young. Hey, Young, can you hear me?
Me?
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you heard that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
If I gave you a lead that's close to the top of the wave, what would you perceive about the quality of that lead?
I'm sorry.
Anyone want to help him? Taylor, you want to help him?
That would be a hot lead, probably.
Right, so
Yeah.
that would be a really high quality lead because they're almost about to transact in real estate.
And I also just wanted to mention quick that I believe Young uses a translator. So if you see him like taking a minute to get back to, he's reading the translator.
Good to know. Thank you. Okay, what if I gave you a lead that right after they had purchased a house? Q, let's have you.
At the bottom of at the valley. The
So
valley
right
point?
after they purchased their home.
No,
Which
very
is
unlikely. Interestingly enough, I've been selling my properties. I think when I first purchased my home, I bought another one after 7 years for my residential, and then if you're talking about at the top point, yes, it's a very hot leads, and then I've been the person up until this moment, and then that's why I've been even for investment properties. Once you know the properties, then once you develop a knowledge base regarding properties, then at a certain point of your life, you're going to buy your residential, and then after a certain period of time, once you develop the knowledge base, then you'd be interested in investment property. So within that 7 to 10 period of time frame, it's very likely they're going to fall for property buying opportunities. However, if you're at the valley, at the bottom point, it's very unlikely they're going to be interested unless you have some cash flow, and then very likely they're going to be interested in buying another property for their investment as an investment assets. Other than those cases, very unlikely people are going to buy or think of moving to another place.
Yeah, that's right. So really there is no such thing as a bad lead. So you may perceive somebody in that valley to be a bad lead, but there are no bad leads. Every lead is on this wave somewhere, and they might not be hot right now, but they're future potential. And as a real estate agent, following up with all leads and with like frequency and intensity is the key to remaining in close emotional proximity. So as any lead approaches the top of the wave and they're ready to purchase, they think of you. So this is where the importance and value of lead follow-up really comes into play. Does that make sense? Great. Okay. So think of leads that enter your database through lead generation as your possible business. Lead follow-up helps turn the leads from possible business into probable business. You're going to hear me say that a zillion times, with the end goal being profitable business. The 2021 NAR profile of home buyers and sellers detailed the opportunity that lead follow-up can provide to your business. And I find this to be really interesting stats. So stay with me. They collected research that shows when selecting an agent to use, 73% of buyers only talked to one agent, and 82% of sellers only talked to one agent. And since the data shows that most buyers and sellers only talk to one agent before deciding to do business with them, you need to ensure that you're the agent that everyone thinks of in your database. Okay. Okay, if you aren't first or second in their mind, you probably won't get the business. This concept of taking up space in people's minds through staying in close emotional proximity to them is called mind share. At the top of this, you heard me talk about mind share leads to market share. Emotional proximity is a result of engaging in the touches with your database. So thinking back to the day that you learned about lead generation, what touches are the strongest when it comes to relationship building? Stacy, let's have you.
I think like the two-way communications,
Yeah, so what
like a
touch
phone,
do
like a
you
phone
think-
call.
A phone call, yeah. What else?
Letters.
Like mailers.
Yeah.
That's kind of like tier 2, I would say.
Yeah.
So phone calls, face to face. Those are going to be the ones that have the greatest impact or are the strongest when it comes to relationship building. What are the weakest ones? I think. Did you guys talk about like different kind of lead generation buckets, like phone calls, mailers, events, that kind of stuff? Yeah. Okay. What do you guys think are the weakest touches when it comes to lead gen?
Email.
Email. Yes. Good Lord. We'll just put that at the bottom. Okay. So meeting in person and a phone call are the touches will have the greatest impact on the relationships you're building. Email, text, those are the weaker related to forming connections and bonds. So while you will lead follow up using a variety of touches, it's important to keep in mind which ones will be most effective as you follow up. Okay, so where's my mouse? There it is. Let's share. Do you guys do ahas usually? Have you heard about this? Yeah.
I actually have a question. You said that texting would be one of the weaker follow-ups, but I know the majority of the people I know actually prefer a text over a phone call. They'll answer a text message before a phone call. So does like today's generation kind of switch that market at all?
I don't know. So what I'm kind of, what I'm sort of focusing on this last slide, oops, hang on. Whoa, here. Yes, I would agree with you that there are a lot of people who do prefer text, especially if the relationship hasn't really been solidified very well. But what I want to also focus on is which lead generation or lead follow-up tactics really bridge that emotional proximity thing that I was talking about. So a text is really unemotional. In fact, like some people can misread the tone. A phone call is a lot more personal and will create a stronger emotional bond than a text. So what we're going to talk about a little bit later in here is how to keep things really personable and make it so that, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but essentially like you're likely to get stronger engagement with these leads, the more personal your messaging is to those people, and using those kind of more emotional ways of following up and touching these leads is going to build that. So we'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute. Does that make sense, Stacy? I think that was Stacy that asked that question.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, yeah, great. Good question. Anybody have ahas they want to share, or should we move on? Moving on. Great. Okay. So just like your intention to be strategic with your lead gen efforts, you should be strategic with these follow-up efforts, and being thoughtful about how you follow up and leveraging the highest value of touches yield the greatest result will help you convert leads at a higher level. Yeah. So you're going to turn to the Fortune is in the follow-up Mindshare page in your participant guide. Mindshare is gained through positioning yourself in front of your leads frequently with relevant and timely information. I would like write those words down: frequently, relevant, timely. The goal is to open the door to two-way communication in addition to getting to think about you anytime they think about real estate. Through Ignite, you've been introduced to 2 different systems that engage your leads and contacts and help you gain mind share. I'm talking about 19 to connect and 36 to convert. You've heard both of those, correct? Yes? Yes. Here they are. So these are the recommended systems for touch campaigns that you were first introduced to during the lead gen segment. With these leads, we will specifically use 19 to connect. So 19 to connect is what you use when you're, before you've really made any kind of emotional bond there, before they've opened the door really to the two-way conversation. So these are those people that you meet at the open house that won't call you back. Maybe they DM'd you once on social, but never heard back from them, that kind of thing. Okay. So 19 to connect is made up of 4 phone calls, 12 touches that are a monthly email, newsletter, market report, yada, yada, 2 touches related to promotional direct mail, and 1 touch that's a client event or a party, happy hour, something like that. The intent of these is to be spread out over a calendar year. So that equates to about 1 touch every 3 weeks. And the goal of this communication is to establish a formal relationship and open that two-way communication. So keep in mind, this is just a list and not prescriptive of the order that you should complete them. So for example, the 4 phone calls will have the greatest impact if you spread them out to once a quarter. When do you think a lead should be added to your 19 to connect touch campaign? Phoenix, we haven't heard from you in a second. What do you think?
I think I accidentally just zoned out. Didn't hear your question.
The question is, when do you think a lead should be added to your 19 to connect touch campaign?
As soon as you get their information.
That's right. They should be added to your touch campaign immediately. So be aware that when communicating with leads, it's speed to lead. You can write that down. This is how quickly you reach out after the lead has engaged with you. And your speed to lead should be rapid, because think about if you get a lead from social media and just think about how quickly that person has already moved on to engaging with other social media. And what if the next account they interact with is also a real estate agent? So you should engage that lead before they've even had time to contact another agent. Okay, where's my mouse? Okay. So as you get started in your real estate career and you begin to generate leads during Ignite, there are some considerations that you should make regarding your own lead follow-up plan. So we're going to do a little activity right now where I'm going to give you some time. You're going to have about 10 minutes. So you're going to be using the lead follow-up best practices page in your participant guide. We're going to do some brainstorming. You can always come back to this page and spend more time thinking about it. I can bounce back and forth. I have 2 slides here. So some things to consider when following up with leads. Basically what we're going to do right now for the next 10 minutes is I'm going to have you each build out a plan for these 19 touches for the year. And it's going to be brief, little bullet points. I'll show you on the next slide, but some things to consider when you're following up with leads. Match the touch campaign with your strengths. So I suck at phone calls. I'm just like terrible at them. I sound bad on the phone. I talk way too loud. I'm like way over the top. So I know that like phone calls aren't my best strength. So there's other things that I do in place of that. Be prepared when you reach out with the reason that you're reaching out. So whether it's a call or an email, something like that, you need to have, it needs to be backed by reason. So maybe you send market information as a touch prior to a phone call, something like that. And make sure each time you communicate with the lead that they know that you're in real estate, how to reach you, and how to refer business to you. Know when you're going to complete your daily lead follow-up tasks. So this should be time blocked as a separate activity from your lead generation time. And then set your personal standard for speed to lead. What time frame do you expect yourself to communicate with a lead? So here, oops, there you go. This is the plan, the 19 to Connect Touch plan. So you have the chance to think about it and design your own so that you'll be able to easily implement it. in the first column, we have your annual occurrence. So there's a 4, a 12, a 2, and a 1. And then the second column is the activities. So whether that's calls, texts, conversations, 12 emails, newsletters, market reports, videos, whatever, 2 promotional direct mails, 1 event. Nothing in these 2 columns should change. However, I want you can use the column under plan. You can use these as your own, or you can come up with different ones. But realistically, what we're trying to do here is build out a plan for you that works for you. You obviously know yourselves a lot better than I know you. So think about things that you'll actually do and actually implement. And there might be some costs associated with these things. So if you're sending out birthday cards, how much does a pack of cards cost? And how many times are you sending those? You know, I have 55 transactions that I closed last year. So maybe that's, I don't know, $100 for me or something like that. With an event, if you're doing like a happy hour or something like that, it might cost you $1,500. But what a great touch that is. Might be worth it to pay for something like that. So I'm going to give you guys, does that all make sense? The directions here of what we're doing? Yes. We've got some thumbs up and head nods. Yes, great. Okay. So I'm going to give you guys 10 minutes and then we're going to come back and talk about, I'm going to have some of you share what plans you developed. And I'm going to start it right now.
May I ask you something? It could be irrelevant, but out of that 55 transactions you did in 2024, how many of them were really fresh?
What do you mean?
I mean, like, so your leads could be existing clients. But out of the 55, how many of them were completely fresh?
The majority, and I have not been in business that long. I'm in my 4th year now. So I don't have, if you think about the wave that we were talking about, I don't have a bunch of repeat clients yet. I haven't been in business long enough.
All right.
So yeah, a lot of those, most of those I would say were fresh. I do have one investor who purchased a couple properties last year.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, 10 minutes. Here we go. You have like 2 more minutes. Okay. So let's take a few minutes and just share what some of you put together for your plan. Who feels like sharing? I'm just gonna call on one of you. Let's have Q.
Mine is not much different from what's already stated in the table, but I'd rather start the conversation. Well, first of all, I'm talking about calls, text conversations. I'm going to start asking about their life changes and especially kids, because many of my, not many, pretty much 100% of my connections have kids. So I may start asking about their kids and life changes. And obviously, quite many of them could be interested in investment properties. So I'd rather give them market updates. And then this is what Chris mentioned during his mastermind presentations. And I thought that's a pretty brilliant idea too. And obviously, if you have enough cash flow, you're always thinking of investing the money in various kinds of asset classes. And then I'm gonna ask them about about anyone relocating to the neighborhood, and then I'd like to give them good property updates so that they're they get so that they know what's going on in this community, and then it's in terms of building their property assets. And so when I do so, let me go to the next one: email, newsletter, market report, and video. I'm personally an investor too, so I well, basically, I've been in search of all the useful economic information myself. And so whenever I have access to those kind of valuable economic updates or information, then I like to share that with my friends and with my clients. And then probably I'm gonna write up some investment outlook with a real estate market updates. And then I'm not sure about the video. I used to have a YouTube channel talking about careers and everything. But I've noticed unless your video is very short, their concentration is very short-lived. So unless you can create a informative video, which is very short, then that could be very effective. But I kind of doubt about making a long video for the viewers or my clients. So very unlikely I'm gonna do a video. Regarding as for promotional direct mail, I'm not quite sure about this, but if I have a chance, since I live in Bethany and then there's some trend, I had an investment property in Tigard, but that Tigard has a unique traits. They have their community is very, very accessible to many of the employers around that area. So that place is very good for investment investors. However, in my area where I live, this Bethany area, they are well, I'd say they are here for good schools mostly. So if I'm gonna send out a promotional direct mail, it's not gonna be a promotional, but rather it's gonna be an informative letter to my clients or random people, and with the information of activities for kids. And then that's because there's always constant demand for that kind of information. So if I can provide one, they're gonna be interested in those information, and then they're gonna look at the name, and then hopefully they'll acknowledge my effort and then recognize my name. So event wise, I'd rather not gonna create an event. I don't see a value to it, to be honest. And then I'd rather sponsor or join the neighborhood gathering, and then I believe that's going to be more effective.
Okay, I would challenge you to think on that a little bit. And of hosting some kind of event where you can show up and be face to face with other people is going to be, it might not be, something that you, Q, in particular are interested in doing, but for the rest of the group too, just be aware that you get very few opportunities to be face to face with your whole database, or at least a large chunk of your database. So I have found that having an actual event, not only—
What kind of events have you hosted?
I do happy hours twice a year.
Twice
I always get at least 2 or 3 pieces of business out of it, whether it's somebody who does want to transact in real estate, or they're referring to me.
So where do you host your event?
Well, I host mine at a brewery down the street from my house. It's called Drop Bear, and they've got pizza, and it's great for kids. They have a big, large patio. So that's what works for me.
So you send out messages to all your database and then RSVP, and they join the meeting?
Yeah, they show up in person.
Okay.
These are all touches that go into it, right? So one of my 12 touches for email is my invite to my happy hour. And then I have the happy hour where I get to do the event. I do mine twice a year, not just once a year. But it all ties in together. And this, you guys, I want you to understand, this is the stuff, what we're building right now, this plan, this is the stuff that most agents don't do. So in my county, there are 1,300 agents, and I can't imagine even half of those do this kind of marketing plan or lead follow-up plan. But this is the stuff that I really truly believe will set you apart from everybody else. And really, what we're really trying to do here is not just stay in touch with your database. That's one piece of it. But if you think about the bigger picture here, the whole idea to lead generation let's go back, not even lead follow-up, but lead gen, is to make connections with people, get your name out there, get your name in people's mouths so that they're talking about you. And it starts the moment that you first have an interaction with somebody. And we're building on that. So that's where I have found the success in my business is I'm sticking to this 19 to connect when I first meet a new lead, and then they move into the 36, whatever it's called. Because the more that you're in front of them, they can't not think about you. Like my whole thing before I really learned too much about Ignite or this kind of thing is that I don't want people to forget that I'm a real estate agent. I told my coach, like, one of my goals for this year is to be able to walk into a room and not have to introduce myself, because people already know who I am, because I'm annoying about it, because I'm talking and I'm sending out emails and I'm sending out promotional mails and my name is everywhere, right? That's how you grow the business. And you start small with the leads that you're meeting at open houses, on social media, or through your sphere, which I want to talk a little bit about too. But it builds on that. The more that people are talking about you, the more people will be reaching out to you. And now I'm at a point in my business where I don't really do much lead gen anymore, because I don't have to, because they just come to me. They pick up the phone, they call me. So that's really what we're trying to lay the groundwork for and then build on. Does that all make sense?
Yeah,
That's why,
yeah, you've done great branding of yourself. And then
well,
that's how you made your name for it.
Yeah, but it's also, I meet a lot of people, as I'm sure you all will, in this world, in real estate. You just do. You meet a lot of people, especially if you go to events or if you do open houses and things like that. And so it just builds, it bubbles up. And that's why I think sticking to this plan where you have 4 calls, text conversations, 12 emails, 2 promotional direct mails, 1 event. The event to me feels really important because it kind of brings it all back together. And it's an opportunity for you to be face to face with these people and ask them for referrals. And it might feel awkward at first, but that's how you get business.
One genuine question out of curiosity. So when you host an event, you said you're getting 2 to 3 business out of it. And so I'm asking you about the people they're joining you in that event. So are they mostly I don't know, stay-at-home father or stay-at-home mother? Also, when do you host the event? And if you host in the evening, very likely, even the people can join you after the work. But when do you? So first of all, when do you host an event? What time? And then what day? And then how many? Well, it's all based on your scale of the database or size of the database. But how many people join you typically? And what's their occupations, for example? So are they staying at home, or do they have a job, or are they just willing to go to your event despite they have the work they have to do? So all those.
I don't want to get too caught up on what I personally do, because I think it's going to be different for everybody. But I will say that I do a happy hour. So there's beer and pizza. So it's usually 5:30 to 7:30 on a Thursday or a Friday. People can bring their kids, whatever. I don't care what their jobs are. I don't care if they're never going to buy a house in their lives, because the purpose of that is to make them remember that I'm in real estate the next time they have a conversation about real estate.
Right.
I want to stay top of mind with these people. It doesn't have to be happy hour. You could host a first-time homebuyers class with a lender, and that could be during a lunchtime at the library. It could be anything, but we're just talking about. And these also could be, yes, we are touching everybody that's in our database. That's the purpose here. But you might also be inviting people to this event that aren't in your database, and then they come to it and they enter into your database. For
Oh,
instance,
sounds good. Thank you.
I might be at pickup for my son, who's a kindergartner, and I might tell one of the other moms, hey, I'm hosting this happy hour. It's this time and this time. And I don't have her number or her email address, but she comes to my happy hour, and now all of a sudden I do.
Mm,
She becomes a lead.
yep.
So that's
Thank
why
you.
those events are important. They'll bring other people, that kind of thing. Okay, let's keep going. Who else wants to share their plan? Stacy, I feel like we haven't heard from you in a minute.
I had the 4 calls and texts would be like either like personal reasons. First, for the first year for me, it's going to be calling them to, hey, I'm in real estate now, kind of like letting them know that I'm in the industry, and then to fill out any information, because I'm finding that I have a lot of their emails and phone numbers and not home addresses. And so I'm filling in that information. And then the 12, I want to start, I'm not sure if it should be quarterly, but I'm going to start doing monthly newsletters and sending that out to my database. But then I'm also going to do 4 market reports, 4 resource items. So like during the winter, these are the people that you want to connect, if you need any repairs on your house for winter items, and so forth. So 4 resource items, and then 4 informational, that's like the industry or whatever might be happening. Yeah. during that.
Amazing. Yep.
And then the promotional direct mail, I'm going to do birthday cards and holiday cards. I know that there's like this one company that you sign up and you put in the information, and it automatically sends, like birthday cards to somebody, every year, same time. And you can check on all those and update it and whatever, but it's automatic. So it'll be taking like essentially no time at all. So like 1 birthday and 1 holiday card. And then for the events, I know that a lot of people at Keller Williams do the pies on Thanksgiving. So either a pie event or like a picture with Santa Claus, because that's
cute.
another big one that I found. So I want to eventually get to both of those events, but starting out just one or the other.
Okay, great. Let's do one more. Who wants to share? Sung?
Yeah, I don't have any special activities, but I'd like to add in-person meeting in either the first 4 or the second 12 times contact, because personally I feel in-person face-to-face meeting is way more comfortable. So I definitely want to include face-to-face meeting in there. And I'm also thinking of hosting or organizing seminar for event. So for first-time buyer, or nowadays I'm focusing on HOA things, so I can host a meeting to explaining what is HOA. I can't be a presenter, but I can invite who can professionally present that presentation. And also seasonally, I can the 12 contact for the 12 contacts, I'm thinking of sending out seasonal information letter regarding organizing, hot weather and winter storm, moving or school information per people's needs.
Great. That's perfect. Thank you. Does everybody feel like they have put together a plan that they personally feel that they can execute? Like, are you actually going to do it? That's the whole point here, is we can write stuff down all day long, but will we actually do it?
I was thinking on that, Ashley. The problem is because I have some numbers, I have some emails, but I don't have the whole information for the whole context. It's kind of tricky because I need to find the emails and the address.
Yeah, so if you wanted to put in people's addresses,
what I'm doing right now, Joanna, I'm sorry to interrupt, but because I'm in the same situation, what I'm doing is when I'm calling, I'm saying I'm in real estate. Now, by the way, I would love to send you out, like, I know that you've been doing handwritten cards. I'd love to send you out some of my business cards, but apparently I don't have your address. Could I get that so I can get those sent out to you?
Yeah.
And they haven't had a problem giving me their address. I haven't ran into one yet, so.
Yeah, it's perfect. That's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy.
Yeah, so sometimes it will take you a minute if you have a choppy database where you only have some people's phone numbers or you only have their email to like bridge those gaps. But it's really just, you know, if you don't have somebody's phone number, you can email them and say, I'm just cleaning up my database and realized I didn't have your phone number. How silly. Can you share it with me? And then people are usually really chill about that.
I don't know if this is like one person I didn't have their email for, and I felt kind of uncomfortable asking their because I wasn't that close to them, asking their address and their email. I said, I have for your email, and I made up, like, I put their first name and last name at AOL.com or something like that. They're like, no, that's not it. I'm like, oh, can I update it then? And so I'm not asking for it. They're just correcting it. So I did that with one person and it actually worked. So
that's funny. That's
really-
really smart. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I know we just took 10 minutes to do that. If you want to come back to this afterwards and like really just make sure that this is a plan that you feel like confident in yourself that you'll follow. And then I would like, if you have it written out or something like that, I would hang this up, you know, in your office and your computer or something like that so that you don't forget and that you keep those touches are top of mind for you. Okay, cool. We're almost done. I know this is a slug. Okay. Okay, so focus on value. This is how you make your impact. And I kind of talked about this at the beginning, like what are you calling about or what are you writing about and how is that valuable to this lead? So when you've generated a lead and you've captured their information, then you can talk to them. And if you haven't heard back and you don't know much about the person, then your communication will be pretty broad and focus on probably a range of different values. This is where you'll communicate your value with your own value proposition, which I think you guys covered in day 4 of Ignite. You can even use the company or personal statistics. We just know that people are more likely to respond when the message that you're communicating feels personal and relative to them. I would write that down, personal, relative. So as you engage with your leads, you can uncover how to serve them better and learn what they're interested in. Sung brought up a really good point earlier that he's got a friend now that he's known for years, but just recently learned that person is a veteran. All of a sudden, we have a value proposition. We can talk about VA loans. So you'll sort of learn how to, you know, serve them better. And as you learn this, you can segment those leads into more specific groups. I don't know if you guys have covered that yet, but you can communicate more detailed, more value-based information. You can have more relevant conversations that have more value, that are timely, and that lead to a greater opportunity for future conversion. So this is really where it ties into that emotional, like we're going to bridge that emotional gap. Get to know who they are. One thing that I'm really passionate about is animal welfare. And so I'm a sponsor of our Humane Society. And I've even got a tag in command for people that have pets. So if I'm doing bark in the park or the auction or something like that, I can make sure that I touch those people and that they know, hey, we've got a 5K race coming up. You want to be involved? Stuff like that. So you're looking beyond the who when you contact a lead. And the most basic way to start doing this is to craft your message based on the source that the lead was generated from. So example, if the lead came through a social media post about first-time home buyers, sending them an investment property newsletter might not be super relevant. Once the door is open for that two-way communication, you can use conversations to like find their motivation, engage with your business, what's their timeline, possible other interests, and then you can use that information to group them. Okay, so now we're going to turn to communicate with value page in your participant guide. Okay, so once you know the source of the lead, you can narrow your range of value. So knowing the source of the lead helps inform you on how you can pair a value with your communication. So for example, a lead generated through a client referral will probably be communicated differently than a lead that came from like a sign call. So we have another brainstorming activity here. Hang on, let me just read. See how long this takes. Hang on. Where's my mouse? Okay. I guess I don't know how much like lead gen stuff you guys have done, but we were gonna record our top lead sources that you're focusing on in your participant guide, and then brainstorm or write statements or questions that you could use when you're communicating with that segment of contacts. Maybe we could just quickly share what your top lead sources are right now. I'm sure you guys are probably doing a lot of phone calls. Is that right? Open houses, stuff like that. What are you finding are your top lead sources at the moment? Phoenix, what are some of yours? Or yeah, Stacy, you're unmuted.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm fine.
It's only my second week, so I haven't done anything yet.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I'm not like totally caught up on how long each of you have been with us. Taylor, you're in my market center, right?
Eugene Springfield.
Is anybody else in that market center? Phoenix is. Okay, great. Well, we don't really need to focus too much on this, but it is something that I would come back to once you're like maybe a few months into being in real estate. So maybe you just write this down, something to kind of think about that'll just help your mind and help you plan stuff like this out, and also make it easier when you start making these calls to your leads, is laying out like what your top lead sources are. So for me, it's like my sphere and referral base. And then what questions or statements can I reach out to those people with to engage conversation and help uncover their motivation? So for example, a few times a year, I send out a mass text to all of my close friends, and I literally have a Google Doc of everybody that this text message is going to. And I'm talking about my best friends, my very best friend, Lynn. She gets this text message and it states, I'm in real estate. I'm looking to build out my pipeline a little bit. Who do you know that's going to transact in real estate in the next 6 to 12 months? It's not like these people don't know that I'm in real estate. They do, but it's just a touch, and I'm reminding them, and this is how I'm asking for referrals. So something like that might be something that you plan out and just have kind of in front of you when you're working through lead gen. And you'll start to be able to bucket people when it comes to lead gen in terms of like, oh, I got 2 leads from an open house, or I got 4 from social media, or I got 1 from my kid's school, or ex-coworker, stuff like that. So when you do have a lead come in, make sure you're tagging those people of how they got to you. That way you'll be able to look back and see, where's the majority of my lead sourcing coming from, and how can I plan out the conversations that I'm going to be having with them? Because if most of your leads are coming from, let's say, an open house, then your dialogue with those leads is probably going to be really similar across the board with every open house lead that you're calling. Same thing goes for like somebody, maybe you're getting a lot of business through a place that you volunteer. Then you already know enough about that group of people, and the conversation is going to be pretty similar across the board until you get to know the individual person a lot more. So the whole idea of this practice is to lay out questions and conversation starters so that when you do start making those calls, it's not quite as awkward and you kind of know what you're going to say and it becomes more scripted. But I don't think we need to do that right now, unless you guys really want to. No. Okay. This is our chance to share some ahas. What I would love to hear some takeaways. We're almost done. And so I'd love to hear what you guys have learned today. You want me to call on people? Joanna, how about you?
I think that it's a good idea make 1 or 2 events during the year, because you can make more contact with your friends, your neighbors, and also you can get a new leads. For example, I was thinking and make a event during summer for the kids, and in order to collect some supplies, and I was thinking about make other event in Christmas with cookies, hot chocolate, and Santa. Yeah, something like that.
Great. That's great. Young, I'd love to hear from you, something that you've taken away today.
Actually, I don't have any idea.
Okay, no worries. Let's do one more. How about Taylor?
Yeah, we definitely got to my question from the beginning, talking about what lead gen or follow up has the greatest success. We talked about phone calls and face to face, which was good to know. I'm not great yet at either of those things, so it's good to know it's something that I will need to work on and get more comfortable with as time goes on. And then also one thing that I wrote down was time blocking lead gen and lead follow-up separately. I wouldn't have thought of that, so that was a good tip.
Amazing. Great. Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, last few slides here. So this is the post lead follow-up. So once you follow up with a lead and you have permission to have that two-way conversation, what do you think happens with that person? They're going to move right on through your funnel into, they become a contact. So they move from lead to contact. And then we move that person from 19 to connect to 36 to convert. And that's when you cement that relationship. I don't know if you guys have talked much about 36 to convert. If not, you're probably going to be talking about that next. So I'm not going to dive too much into that. It's essentially the same as 19 to connect. However, it's just a lot more built out. So yeah, I mean, connecting with a lead doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do business with them, or that your relationship is as strong as it could be, but that's why you continue into another touch campaign. Whether it's a lead or a contact in your database, every person should be on a touch campaign. This is how you'll gain and keep that mind share. Mind share leads to market share. Okay, at the point where a lead opens the door for a two-way conversation, this is when you got to cement the relationship. So what I mean by that is, what can you do to solidify the relationship in terms of client real estate agent? So one thing that you might think about doing is, if they're a first-time home buyer, you might give them the Keller Ink book, Your First Home, as a gift. It might even cost a little bit of money, but it's something that's really going to solidify that relationship. This cement touch is a really high value touch, and it offers a really strong first impression. That's the whole point of it. And it should really set the tone for your relationship altogether. And whatever you choose to do here should serve more than one purpose. It should tell them about the service that you provide. It should help set up a conversation for later, serve as a reminder of the interaction, and tell them how to refer business to you. So for instance, if you were to purchase them that Keller Ink book, Your First Home, that's a great reason to follow up with them later. Hey, have you gotten around to reading that book, or at least the first couple of chapters? What did you think? That's like something that you can set up conversation for later, and it'll be a physical thing that reminds them of your interaction. So you might want to take 5 minutes, 10 minutes over the next couple of days and just think about what you might want your one to cement thing to look like. It could be different person to person or group to group, or you could have one kind of overarching thing of, this is what I always do to cement a lead to become my contact. Okay. I think here I have another, we're not going to do ahas. That we kind of talked about all that. And then success system, this is where we get into role playing. So I'm going to kind of end it there. And that's kind of where we're going to wrap it up. So I just want to go through these questions again that we had at the top of the class. How do we follow up with leads that are just acquaintances? We kind of talked about that a little bit. How many times do we follow up with a lead if they're not giving us much response? Totally your call. I don't like to do it more than 4 or 5 times. I don't want to be annoying, and I've got better things to do. So if they're not interested, they're not interested. But you might want to keep following up. If it's just a simple email that's already blasting out to your database anyway, you might just keep them on until they unsubscribe. Market report, we sort of talked about that at the beginning too, and how to find those statistics. I wrote down, how do I get someone's info and will they be upset if I call them? You shouldn't like sleuth find people's contact information and then reach out to them. A lot of people are on a do not call list, which you need to be really careful about. I don't know if you've received the do not call list stuff. I think I even have it. No, I don't have it in here. Maybe I do. Yeah, hang on. Yeah, here it is. So you should make sure that you kind of know all about the Telephone Consumer Protection Act, because people will like file things against you if they're on a do not call list and you call them. If they willingly give you their phone number, that's one thing, but if you go hunting for it and then you don't leave them alone, that's definitely another thing. What type of lead follow-up should I be focusing on? Yes, we talked about that. How often? We definitely talked about that. What do you do when you have no contacts? How do you get exposed to people that you don't know? Well, there's a lot of different ways you can do that. You can do open houses, you can do events, first-time homebuyer events. What I do for my first-time homebuyer events is I pair with a lender and I make a flyer with a QR code so that people can register, and I hang that up all over town. I hang it at the library, at coffee shops. I hang it like on community boards in neighborhood parks, just all over restaurants, wherever you can find like a community bulletin board. That's where I hang those up. Those have been really great turnouts for me. And you can usually get a room at the library or at the YMCA, something like that, if you're looking for like a free space to use. And then one of the questions I think was like targeted information, like if you should be breaking out like super specific information per your groups. And I believe you really, if you're at that level of lead gen, then it's very wise to do that. That was a lot. Any questions, or is everyone kind of brain dead? Brain dead. Well, I'm just going to call it. Thanks for letting me teach this class. It was really nice to interact with you all. I really wish you the best. And I would just say, like, it's really important to get your name out there and make sure that people know who you are and they don't forget about it. So branding is really important. Talking to as many people as possible, even if you're not good at it or comfortable with it, you eventually will be. It feels super awkward at first, especially if you're like calling through your own sphere and you're like, hey, I'm a real estate agent and blah, blah, blah. Like that feels really weird, but eventually you find your voice and like people just want to help. So if you give them a reason to help, then they will. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Ashley.
So welcome. Have a great rest of your day.
You as well.
Thank you.